On today's edition of Stories from Real Life with Melvin E. Edwards, our guest for this episode is former January 6th prisoner Pam Hemphill. Hemphill was convicted and sentenced in 2022 to 60 days in prison with 36 months of probation and $500 restitution for one count of demonstrating in a Capitol building. Hemphill is noted for changing her mind on Donald Trump during her time in prison and afterward, as well as for her refusal of a presidential pardon.
It's so hard to forgive yourself. You know that you've been fooled. You know that they hijacked your brain. But it doesn't matter. It's a difficult when you do really see that the things that you have done and the people you would hurt, Black Lives Matter, standing up against them, and it kills you inside. You know what I mean? So this letter was help me to forgive me for being so blinded and so not gullible and, for being there in that mindset for a while. I don't want that to be a part of my history.
Let's join this news-making conversation with Pam Hemphill.
You are listening to Stories from Real Life, a podcast by engaging storytellers for engaged story listeners. Here's your host, author and journalist, Melvin E. Edwards.
Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Stories from Real Life. I'm your host, Melvin E. Edwards. Thanks for joining me for the podcast where personal stories can have a global impact. As you heard in the intro, our guest today is Pam Hemphill, who was once known as MAGA Granny after her arrest for her role for storming the U.S. Capitol building on January 6, 2021. Pam Hemphill, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
So I'm curious, what changed for you in 2020? You didn't seem to be radicalized before that. You even voted for Barack Obama in 2008, though you voted for Trump in 2016 and 2020. What happened in 2020?
Well, it actually happened a few years before that. I had retired as an alcohol and drug counselor and had ran into a group called the MAGA girls. They were on the corner flying their flags, and they had heard that I had at one time did some small community TV shows as a volunteer for an organization for the college to help alcoholics and addicts. They said, could you come out and help us, interview us, and share with our community? Because I was live all the time on Facebook. And I said, sure, I'd like to help you. And that's what got me going. And then fast forward, I was on Facebook and I saw a video from a man named Ammon Bundy, which I didn't know much about. And a lot of you people may know and may not, but he was a far right militia group that stood up to the government with ARs. And so that got me going.
So why were you convinced enough in Trump's message to go all the way to D.C. for the Stop the Steal and then hang out with Alex Jones the day before?
Well, I didn't hang out. I tried to get there to hear him speak, but I never met him or hung out with him. But see, what they do is they do hijack your brain, starting with the Democrats want to turn this into a communist country. Now, I'm educated in alcohol and drug studies. I stay away from news and politics. I don't remember half of what I learned about history. I have no business in this field of politics. But when I learned that, hanging around with the far right and all the propaganda they were putting out, I said, oh my God, I don't know anything about Democrats, but yet I'm listening to them. And I didn't realize, today I know, there was a huge disinformation war going on. And they gaslight you if you ask them any questions like, well, where do I look and who do I listen to about the election being stolen? Pam, there's nobody to really believe right now. So, they shut you down real quick. So it started for about 2 years before 2020.
Okay. So in the weeks before January 6, 2021, you underwent breast cancer surgery. So how did you use that as an excuse when you encountered the police at the Capitol?
I know that was in my comment in my court records. Well, I disagree with that. I didn't use it. Okay, just imagine right now you have how many stitches? 20. And there's a crowd that's going crazy. They push you down. They stepped on my head. They cut my knee, pulled out my shoulder, broke my glasses. I was not breathing. The officers pulled me up behind them. So you would be afraid too, because see, you go there believing it's a peaceful protest. Republicans leave the Capitol cleaner than when they left, right? You have no, my family sent me there. They would have never put me in harm's way. I'd never heard anything. People were saying, I knew not to go because it was going to get violent. Well, I didn't know. I never heard anything like that. So that's number one. I really believed it would be safe to go. Just all the Trump rallies were safe. There was no reports of violence or anything going bad. And I thought, why would I need to be afraid of anybody harming me or my stitches getting harmed?
All right. So how's your health now? How are you doing now?
Well, I still undergo seeing a doctor whenever I'm scheduled to keep an eye on it because cancer, I think you have 5 years before you really know if you're out of the, deep waters or not. So I'm fine.
Okay, that's good to hear. When you were a part of the large gathering at the Ellipse, listening to Donald Trump, did you feel like it was kind of a pep rally for something that bigger that was about to happen?
No, I had no idea. I saw the crowd and how big it was. And again, because of stitches, I was afraid that because the crowd, you're going through a crowd, somebody could hit you with their elbow by accident. It's just a crowd. And you know how crowds are. And I thought, I could get my stitches hit. I better not go in. And so I started walking around and asking people what's going on next. And because I thought I missed the speech, and that's when people started saying that they heard that he's going up to the Capitol. And I thought, that's weird. Why is he going to the Capitol? He just had a talk. And I thought, well, that's great, though. Maybe he's meeting with some of the representatives up there. And I could be up there to videotape because I missed it. And I'm live on Facebook. My whole reasoning for being there, one, was to videotape. That's all I was doing for 2 years. They called me a citizen journalist, but I am not a journalist. I was just having fun capturing everything that's going on so my followers on Facebook could see what I'm doing and what's going on. So that was my motive. Who wouldn't want to be right there in front of Trump talking?
So, do you regret recording yourself going into the Capitol? Because that seems to be ultimately how you were identified.
No, I don't. Um, what happened, I didn't know the other side's going on it to start off with. I heard somebody say something about the writing on the other side, and I thought, what other side? That's not how naive I was about there being two sides. And but you don't hear what's going on, and you heard a little bit. Somebody's writing over there, but I don't. But I know now. When I saw the door open, there were people going in and out. That they were bringing them from the other side through my side. I know that now when I look at the videos. But at the time, I thought they were allowing people to come in. But because they tricked me the first time when they pushed the barriers, thinking that they were legally letting us in, I was going to make sure it's on video. There's two officers at the door. I'm going to get close enough to say, sir, is it legal for us to be coming in? Because why are they letting them come in and out anyway, right? But I wanted it proof. Well, I got shoved in. I got in, it's on my video, and I'm glad I was videotaping. And I said, not as an excuse, though, not as an excuse. I said, I got shoved in, I sat down, and I'm looking around and going, this is amazing. You're like at all. It's like, I don't explain it. When you first go inside that Capitol, it's so beautiful. There were officers inside there looking back, of course. I should have went to them and said, get me out of here. I got shoved in. But I stayed. They were taking everybody out, trying to get them out again. I ran behind the officers, got to the other side of the Capitol, that room, sat down, and an officer came to me and said, I said, sir, I've been already pushed down and stepped on. I'm scared of this crowd. Can you help me get out? And he helped me get out.
So, when you went there on January 6th, what did you want to happen? What did you think would happen?
Well, you'll hear that a lot today when we're all screaming to come out for these protests that we need millions of people, right? That's what I had heard. And that's part of my comment that's all over the place. A congressperson had said, if there's 300 out there, I don't pay attention. But if there's 3,000, I might even come out and hear what you're saying. So I'm promoting that everybody show up. It's a war. And I know now not to use some of these words because it sounds like I'm talking about, and they have me holding a plastic toy gun, and that's another story. They use that picture because MAGA was taking pictures of me with toy guns to make it look funny because they know I'm against wearing ARs. But anyway, so it sounds like a war. Sounds like I got a gun, you know. It got all twisted and out of proportion. But it was to have enough people to stand up that the election had been stolen. Even though you're asking them, where's the evidence? Nobody has any, but you start to believe. Look at these are people with 2 PhDs that I knew. The lieutenant governor, senators that I had met here in Boise, Idaho. They're all saying it's been stolen. Giuliani, all these well known people. They're not going to be lying to us. I mean, now you know how you would feel if you believed all of their lies. But so you're going to stand up for your nation.
All right, so you went back home to Boise, Idaho, and then something happened on August 3rd when the FBI showed up at your house. Tell me what happened then.
Yeah, it was like about 6 months later. I had seen an attorney. I wanted to know if I should turn myself in. I did talk to the Boise Capitol Police to see what do I do. Am I on a list? Nobody could tell me anything. I was worried. I thought, oh my God, because I didn't have intent, but I still broke the law. My therapist, I kept playing like a little victim with my therapist. He said, Miss Hemphill, you're still saying, well, you didn't push barriers, you wouldn't have done this, but you did. You are guilty. You're not a victim. And I left his office thinking, I'm never talking to him again. But he was right. I was a volunteer. I had a choice. No, Pam has to stay there videotaping. But that doesn't matter. Even if my tent was all good, in reality, I still broke the law. You know,
All right, so in exchange for one guilty plea, prosecutors dropped 3 additional charges, and you went to federal prison in California for 60 days with 36 months of probation and a $500 restitution. Do you think that was a fair sentence?
there is I don't know what it's called. There's like it's all legal recommendations for each sentence. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how all this works, but they were within the guidelines. I don't know about fair or not. Again, I could sound like a victim, right? I have no criminal background. I'm a retired alcohol and drug counselor. I'm not a drug addict. I've been sober 45 years now. It was 42 at that time or 41. But why would they put me in prison? I think to send a message that
All right,
it was a different day. It's not just trespassing. You know what I'm saying? It was picketing and parading it, right? Yeah.
all right, so how were you treated while you were in prison?
Well, all prisons treat, you're never going to be treated. You're not going to like it. That's why they don't want you to like it. But there was a lady there, and I heard that Biden did pardon her. Her name, and you could look her up, Michelle West, a beautiful black Muslim lady. She saved my life. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have probably got out. And she said, I want you focusing on God and not these women. There were 95% cartel women that did not like Trump. And they had plans to put drugs in my room. If you're caught with drugs in your room, there's 2 of us. They put you both in solitary and you can get charges and be moved to another prison. It's a nightmare. You can get 4 more years added. Oh my God, I was so scared. But they listened to her. I think she protected me. Thank God for her. But it's prison. The worst food, you wouldn't give it to a starving dog. This prison was on the news, though. And I know for a fact what happened. The warden went to prison for having relationships with the girls. And there was a big drug bust. And they are treated bad. They need help. I think it may have been closed. Don't quote me on that. It had serious violations. And I always thought if I can get out and tell people, help those girls in there because it's pretty bad. I mean, that food is, you really wouldn't give it to a starving dog. It's that bad.
Wow.
But there's things about prison that should be bad. But they give you medical help. I mean, I saw a doctor 4 times. But prison's prison.
So what were the terms of your probation?
Oh, it's the standard. You can't leave the state without permission. You can't have any possession of drugs. Can't own a gun. Can't hang around felons. Those are the basics. None of it mattered to me at all. I don't use drugs. I never owned a gun my whole life. And when I did need to leave the state, they gave me permission. So probation to me didn't mean I could have a drug test every day. It wouldn't matter to me. I've been sober at that time, 40-some years. So it didn't interfere with me. I didn't like the idea of asking permission to leave the state. I mean, that you know how it is. You'd make a plane and go. But I had very good probation officers.
Okay. So before this chapter of your life, you had been a substance abuse counselor, as you mentioned. Did your prison transformation, if you would call it that, begin by reminding yourself that honesty with yourself was the first step to changing?
Yeah, you know, when you're playing the victim, you know you're playing, but you get your little enablers around you. And being an alcoholic and a counselor working with these people, and my own personal experience, trying to deny that I was an alcoholic addict for years until I surrendered, I understand that protection because it's very hard to look at yourself and stop blaming other people. And it's your responsibility. Nobody's forcing you, twisting your hand to drink or use drugs. Nobody made you stay there on January 6th. Come on, own up to it. You know, you want to sleep at night and be right with God? I had to come to that place. But it's convenient, you know, to be a victim. And then you get everybody, all the Jake Sixers come together. Yeah, look what the DOJ did to you, Pam, you know.
So why did you reject the idea of a pardon long before it was even offered to you?
Oh, I don't want to be a part of anything that Trump had to offer. His narrative is an outright 100% lie. The DOJ was not weaponized against Trump or the J6ers. These people have integrity. Somebody would have blown the whistle if they were doing that. They wouldn't have been weaponized against J6ers and Trump. If they were, it would have been found out, you know, but they're in a different reality world. They don't understand that the people that are working for the DOJ at that time, I don't know about now, have integrity. They don't want to, they got in that job to do their job and be honest and go after facts. If the person is a criminal and committed that crime, it's their duty to arrest you and nothing to do with they like you or not. That's high school. You know? So their thinking is it's really delusional.
All right. So you're probably going to be in the history books going forward. Have you, because of rejecting a pardon, so have you ever heard of the Supreme Court case from 1833 called the United States versus Wilson?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. He was the first person, or maybe even the only other person, who had ever rejected a presidential pardon. He had been convicted of robbing and endangering the life of a postal worker. And at that time, that was punishable by death. And President Andrew Jackson issued him a pardon, and he rejected it, and he was executed. So from what I've read in my preparation for this, he may, other than you, he may be the only other one who's ever rejected a presidential pardon.
Man, that's
That's something, isn't
I mean,
it?
yeah.
Was it kind of surreal when you were dealing directly with Donald Trump on social media about a potential pardon? When he was talking about it being unfair, and then you responded to him, and then others responded to you.
I had did a video, and everybody was saying that Trump would probably pardon a lot of them, like myself, but they wouldn't. He would not pardon the ones that actually attacked officers, and I disagreed with them because, see, Trump has to keep his narrative. It's all about Trump going. That the DOJ was weaponized against him. They're coming after me, but they're actually coming after you. So if they went after the J6ers like they went after him, he has to keep that going. If he didn't pardon some of them, there goes his narrative right down the drain. It would be saying, it'd be like hypocritical. Okay, the DOJ was weaponized against some of the J6ers, but not all of them. He couldn't go there. It makes sense, right?
Hmm.
So I said, no, he will pardon them all. This is what he'll do. And I was right. Well, you got to know Trump. Just watch it. Well, most of us already know that he's a pathological liar.
So, do you consider Trump to be a felon?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Should have went to prison.
So, is that one of the reasons why you didn't want to accept a pardon from him?
Yeah, because he's been lying. How did I end up in prison? Lying. Lying to us. Even when he went and talked to Pence, and Pence told him his position that he didn't want to be a part of it. Don't quote me on words what he said, but Trump goes out anyway. After everybody had told him the election wasn't stolen, all those around him. I've read this in, I think it's Heather Cox Richardson's book, and some other books have shared this information. He goes out there anyway, and lies about the election being stolen, even though he knew it wasn't.
Wow. So, do you think any of those people at the Capitol on J6 deserved pardons?
No, not one. Not one.
Why is that?
Because you had a choice. They try to use it. Oh, the FBI and informants were there. So the FBI whispered in my ear, right? And said, now, Pam, I want you to go take that bat. I mean, not me. I mean, to the defendants, the criminals. And I want you to hit an officer with it. Give me a break. I'm glad they were there. They were probably documenting. They could be witnesses later. I hope there was a lot of them there. But using the FBI there, saying that's why all this happened is, we know it's delusional. It's like, what? Come on, come up with something at least a little believable. Their story is so insane.
All right. So, now that you're on the other side of this, do you in any way feel like those people who are opposed to Trump are using you in the same way you felt exploited by the MAGA group earlier?
Well, be specific by who you're talking about using me.
Anybody, like let's say me, having
Okay.
you on my podcast today. Do you feel like I'm exploiting you in the same way that MAGA you felt like they exploited you earlier?
No, actually, maybe I'm using you because I need to get the message out. No, we're helping each other, and we should be. And verbally say that you are not paying me, because that's the smear campaign. She's getting out there on all these medias and podcasts, and they're paying her. Oh yeah, good luck. A
Pam is
J6.
not being paid. She is not being paid for this performance, for this appearance on my podcast.
Any J6er that's taking a dime for J6, shame on you. You should not be making a penny. Now, the police officers, of course, telling their story and writing books, they should be getting paid. They should get some money for what happened to them that day. But a J6er, no. So the first time I had to make this decision was with CNN, with Gary Tuckman. And I refused to go on 3 times with him. Now, he's on the plane. He's getting ready to get on the plane. And I said, I knew what could happen. You know what happens when you speak out nationally, right? And I really want to just put this behind me. I don't want to get in that down the rabbit hole and that known. you lose your life after a while, and you're a target, and you don't know who could kill you. And I had to sit alone and pray about it. And I thought, no, if there's another Pam out there, of course, men too, but another me that's so naive, been listening to Trump, maybe I could help her. If I could have heard me, maybe didn't have to go that far down the route with them, and even been there that day. So it felt like a duty plus a way to make amends. It's just saying I'm sorry for being there that day don't mean that. So I've decided I have to put my life on the line, whatever, and help this nation. Because look, I was a part of not helping it. Now I want to be a part. So no, you guys are not using me, and I don't care. Keep using me. It's a good thing.
Okay. So as you just referenced, I know you've gotten some death threats because of your change of heart about Trump. Are you afraid at all?
No. I keep this higher power with me. He's right in front of me. He's right beside me. I have faith, and I do not like bullies. I had 4 brothers, so I had to learn how to fight back. But, 4 brothers. No, I'm 72. I survived cancer. I survived my alcoholism. I have a faith in a higher power. I choose to call him God. I also call him Yeshua. Some call him Jesus. That I turn to help me and guide me in my life today. I always have. Maybe that's why he got me out of that MAGA cult, through the help of other people. That you just keep trying to do the right thing, no matter what people say or do. I mean, wasn't it Rosa Parks? All she did, one little action, the right thing. I mean, that's all. Look what happened to her. She saved people.
She definitely started a movement. And your action by using your integrity to stand up for your principles was noticed by the former Vice President Mike Pence. And he sent you a letter recently. Do you feel like that was a final victory in your journey? Or is that another step on your
Hold on,
redemption
Michael,
tour?
give me that letter. Excuse me, I wanted to show it to you. Say the question again real quick.
All right, do you feel like that letter is a sort of a final victory in your journey, or is that just another step in your redemption tour?
When I first got it, of course, I turned to my boyfriend and said, oh my God. Because we thought it came in an envelope with his name. And you know how they send they're involved in a campaign or something, and they're collecting money. And I thought, well, let me just see. Because if it is a good cause, maybe I'll donate. And I looked at this and oh my God, is this real? This isn't real. This is a joke. Somebody's trying to play with me, right? So, of course, my boyfriend's perfect at research, and they've already verified it through their office. It is real. I start crying. It's so hard to forgive yourself. You know that you've been fooled. You know that they hijacked your brain, but it doesn't matter. It's a difficult when you do really see that the things that you have done and the people you would hurt. Black Lives Matter, standing up against them, and it kills you inside. You know what I mean? So this letter was helped me to forgive me for being so blinded and so not gullible, and for being there in that mindset for a while. I don't want that to be a part of my history that I was ever with MAGA, but it was. So it's not that it's over. It's actually helped me to say, I'm not done now. Now I can go on. Death threats, whatever you want to say about me, smear campaigns, go on, give me a break until I can hug those Capitol police officers. See that plaque get up in that Capitol. I'm not done. And you know what? What's happening right now, actually, I don't think will never be done till I die, because we have to save this nation right now. We're losing our democracy, and we all have to speak up. Doesn't matter. It's not Pam. You and me, and the other. We all have to be together on this to push back. We need each other so badly. And I know a lot of Democrats, I already have evidence, never want to forgive me. And I totally understand that. I mean, God, I don't ever, you shouldn't maybe, you know, but we have to stand together right now and forget about forgiving me. Just hear me out and get the message out there. And I want to encourage you, don't be afraid. Get that fear, put it in a closet, put a lock on it, and no more fear about Trump and what they're going to do to you. Well, let him do it to you. Because when you're on that train, like they were with Hitler, you're going to look out that window and say, I'm talking about you right now, right? What's your first name again? I forgot.
Melvin.
Mel, I should have listened to you. Help me. You know, it's going to be too late. We have to get together now, and we have to be a voice and a lion. Not, we don't help perpetrators by being a perpetrator. We want to bring us together. But at the same time, we're going to set healthy boundaries. You don't walk on us. You don't lie about us. You don't put out, false information. We'll confront you and we're going to push back on you and your policies, Trump. You are not taking these immigrants the way you're taking them. It's very unhumane. You're not, all the things he's doing. We're going to, no, no. You know how a child wants to play with a little knife? You're taking that knife away from those children and you're going to get strong. I really believe I shouldn't probably say this, but I think what we need to do is the black community is going to save our democracy. And I've learned from them. Of course, my sponsor was a beautiful black woman. She saved my life in sobriety because you've had to go through more than we ever dream about. You know how to push back with dignity. Martin Luther King. We all need to read his books and really remember how that all happened and what they went through more than we're ever dream of, So stop it. Get out there and push back. I know I hear, and you could help me with this, that the black community is afraid because they're such a target, But we need you. You're going to save us.
I really appreciate you saying that. I really appreciate it. Thank
Fact.
you. So I'm curious. These days, when you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you think? What do you see?
I like to get rid of some of these wrinkles. That's shocking. I like who I see. I was 187 pounds. I mean, I ate when I was with MAGA. I was hateful when I was with MAGA. It was awful. I have more peace. Now, because a lot of what I'm going through right now, I have these anxiety attacks sometimes, but for most part, I know I'm on the right side. I mean, I don't explain it. It's like a joy feeling. And when I'm out there with you in these events, I'm pushing back and I know I'm doing the right thing. I'm not harming nobody. I'm not pushing back propaganda, saying propaganda. We're actually fighting for each other's lives, each other's democracy. And it's a good feeling. Even when I was with them, it always felt mean and evil. I would argue with some of these people, and they'd, oh, Pam, be quiet. Don't listen to that media. Don't read that book. They were always angry, And of course, if you challenge them, they really get angry at you. Ooh, they could be very vicious at you. So you don't want to lose their approval because, see, a lot of people in MAGA have low self-worth, and they're looking for approval. That has to do with their childhood abuse, and so they're reliving all this. There's more to this that I could share right now, but it's important to not be, like a tribe. You don't want to be kicked out or you can't survive. They don't know what to do if they weren't with MAGA. And if they kick them out, and then they got to go through all the smear that I've gone through. And but it's worth it. It's worth it because you sleep at night. And I feel like I'm right with my higher power for most part. I mean, you fall and stand. You fall, what, 8? You fall 8 times, stand up 7. You're not perfect. It's a wonderful gift. It's a lot better than any money you could ever get. That peace of mind.
So I'm Twitter friends with a couple of the Capitol Police who were injured on January 6th.
Oh, you are?
What would you like to say to them?
Oh, I wish I had my letter here right now. I wrote a letter to Congress, but I love you guys. You are the heroes that day. And I hope someday You can forgive me for being there. I'm doing all I can to get that plaque up. It looks like Raskin right now is pushing hard on it. I've got your picture of your plaque on my X, and it's staying there until it's up on the wall. And tell me anything I can do to help. I hope to write a book, and all the proceeds, all of the money, if it sells, goes to you. That would be my amends to you. And then I could be at peace because you deserve, I mean, the Proud Boys and all of them are trying to get money from the government. Was it 50 million or something? Oh my God. That goes to the Capitol Police. They should be getting money because they lost more than money. They are still going through so much hell. And they're keeping their dignity and they're pushing back. Yeah, I don't know. I probably would freeze when I see one. Definitely want to hug them.
Okay. Yeah, I was at an event in Washington, D.C. back in February with Principals First, and some of the Capitol Police officers were there. And during the event, it was disrupted by the head of the Proud Boys, who had just been released the day before. And he was there, or he had gotten arrested again.
I saw that.
So he was
Oh,
there.
you were there.
I was there, yes. So they're not giving up.
I was on a podcast with him with Pushing the Limits with Brian Tario, me and Tario.
Okay. Wow.
Oh boy. And he's put out a smear campaign about me, a lie. So he better lawyer up. Yes, there's a limit. You know what I mean? He's gone over the line with me. So they're evil to the core.
Wow.
He knows. He knows he's guilty.
I'll have to follow up with you on the process there.
Yeah,
So
I can't say much about it.
Right. So what are you most proud of at this point?
That I haven't given up. If it wasn't for a few people around me, I would call them and say, "This is it. I can't take another smear." The lies, and mainly because of those that were telling me about the lie. Call me. Let me tell you the other side of the story. They're twisting it. There's pieces missing, and I'll give you receipts. Which there's some personal information you don't like doing that, but you've got to prove that you're not lying, right? That's been the hardest part. They have left me and believing the smears, and now this Tario has the big one out there. They're calling me a pedophile. You just woke up the wrong mama bear. So
that seems to be a standard smear. It's really confusing to me why certain people are so willing to label somebody else as a pedophile when obviously pedophilia is awful. And you would think if you know a pedophile, if you know a person and you think they're a pedophile, why don't you do something about it?
Well, see, I've been interviewed. Well, I had interviewed, and I sound like I am supporting pedophiles. I'm talking about other countries, but they took the video and sliced it and twisted. So
that
you
was
don't
sent
hear
to me. It was sent to me yesterday to try to discredit you.
Yeah, I'm trying to protect the LGBT, and I sound like I'm supporting. I was abused as a child. My father went to prison for molesting and killing a 5-year-old. So would I support pedophiles? I don't think so. It was very hot that day. I'm tired. I know this guy. And I think when I'm in front of a perpetrator, an evil person that's trying to harm others, because that's what he was trying to do with the LGBT, is say that they were pedophiles, and it's not true. I freeze. I think it has to do with my own trauma as a child. I get afraid of these people, and I don't talk right, so I kind of messed up. Part of it's my own fault, how I answered. But I'm thinking one thing about other countries that the father is allowed to have a young child get married, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I do. I do know what you're talking about, yes.
But it's not that pedophile. So anyway.
Okay. So, as a
But
final question,
I know better now. Don't talk to these people. Don't talk to these people.
so as a final question today, what's one piece of advice you'd like to leave with the listeners?
There's a saying from Herbert Spencer: "What leaves a man in everlasting ignorance is contempt prior to investigation." Investigate. Don't listen to me or anybody else. Do your own research. Get your critical thinking back if you know what that means. Listen to that inner feeling that's saying something sounds wrong or it doesn't feel right. And go ahead and prove to yourself that what you were feeling was right. You know those red flags? Have you ever said, something told me not to turn left, but you turn left anyway, right? Listen to that and come back to whoever has given you information, like me or my host, this host today, and say, look, I found out the facts. You didn't have the whole story. Well, thank you. I would appreciate that, because I don't want to put out disinformation. Do you really want to be lied to? Nobody does. Nobody really wants to be lied to. You want facts, even though you don't like it sometimes. When you find out about your best friend has really been stealing for the last year, you don't want to know that. You love this guy and you find out he's a thief. It hurts, but you have to know the truth. It's important to know the truth.
Well, Pam, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. God
So
bless
our guest
you.
today has been, God bless you. Our guest today has been Pam Hemphill. Again, thank you for being here. Please go to my website at podcastreallife.com for more information about my guest and the things we discussed today. That's it for today's episode of Stories from Real Life. Join us again next time for another chance to learn from each other. Until then, don't forget to shine your light wherever you go.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Stories from Real Life. Don't forget to subscribe and share. Let's meet right here every Tuesday and Friday. See you then.